welcome to Building Better Together, our talk on the effects of collaboration in high-performance projects from the perspective of myself, a project manager, and Andrew, the building designer. So our companies have worked together for, I think, 20 years now on various projects over the years, each one being very unique and evolving every time, building practices evolving on each one to the world we're in today of high performance building.
So our clients consider themselves stewards of 200 acres of depleted farmland in Tiny Township. They're actively restoring this landscape with regenerative farming practices. They're rotating grazing cattle, no-till gardening, restoring wildlife habitat with annual planting of trees and wildflowers. And everything that they're doing on this property adheres to an admirable core idea: improve the land for the benefit of the next generation. Our task was to design the buildings required to support this farm and this core idea. Now, since this is a farm, pragmatism, practicality, efficiency, durability, resilience, future serviceability, these are all baked into early design decisions. Where something's required, we try and make it serve multiple purposes. Our clients needed unconditioned space to store their machinery and farm implements. They also needed conditioned space for seed storage and starting, repairs, and as a farm headquarters. The rolling topography of the site partially determined separation of these elements into two separate buildings. A desire to create a protected microclimate resulted in an L-shaped, south-oriented courtyard, using the buildings to shield from prevailing winds and allowing for prime solar exposure and generation. There was an initial 10 kilowatt solar panel array was requested, and we used it to create a protective overhang above the door openings on the implement building. We'll focus on the conditioned headquarters building for the remainder of the talk. It has a simple floor plan with a centralized mechanical room. It was important to isolate the workshop at the top of the plan there from the remainder of the building. We detailed this as almost two separate buildings. It's a thermally broken floor slab, air and vapor barrier separation, separate HVAC zoning, two electrical panels, all to minimize penetrations through that dividing wall so that the workshop can be in use without affecting the performance of the rest of the building. And in section, you can trace full continuity of the insulation and the barrier membrane layers clear around the building. And these are all located on the exterior of the structural components to protect them. We'll dive into some of these later on. And so at a certain point, these drawings are developed. My job's kind of wrapping up. I just get to hand the drawings off to Ashley. They haven't done any of these assemblies before. I just go, job done. Block her phone number. See ya.
Yeah, not quite so. So at this point, we've actually been collaborating extensively alongside Rockside. We usually start working together about 6 to 12 months in advance of construction. And this just really allows us the opportunity to work through all the details and sequencing together, and allows us as the builder to get the groundwork done early, concurrently, while the drawings and permits are being fine-tuned and further developed. It also just gives us really early familiarity with the project and the opportunity to tackle any site planning logistics that might come along with the unique parameters of the project. Because the reality is, with this type of building, every project is different and unique and brings its own set of challenges. So early collaboration with everybody involved really helps create a smooth project.
Yeah, and that includes the builder, landscape designer, engineer, geotechnical engineer, HVAC designer, solar panel installer, environmental consultants, truss manufacturers. I can just keep going on, and most people are in this room right now, which is nice.
Yeah, and so a few key standout unique elements of this project that we really focused on through the pre-construction planning stage. We'll talk about a few of them here.
Yeah, so this was our first time quantifying our performance ambitions for a project, and that was to achieve a minimum 0.6 ACH 50. And the drawing you see here kind of outlined the role of each barrier membrane in the envelope, the importance of continuity in them, and directed the trades to helpful 475 links and blogs. We also required an airtightness supervisor and testing to verify the results.
So the second major pre-planning item that we dove into was, which was unique to this project, was the use of foam glass aggregates.
And this is a sub-slab aggregate with an R value of 1.7 per inch when compacted. And it provides continuous insulation under the footings and foundations with no thermal bridging, and there's no foam or spray foam required, which was a directive from our clients.
Yeah, so unlike conventional aggregates that I'm sure we're all familiar with here, which are locally available, on demand, easy trucking back and forth from the job site, this product is made to order and came from quite some distance away. So there was a lot of planning and logistics involved in how are we going to get it here. We spent about 2 months, maybe, working with the manufacturer and another local builder on one, how was this manufacturer going to fulfill our large order, and two, how to transport the material the long trip to our site.
Yeah, and municipality unawareness. This was a new product for all of us and also for Tiny Township's building inspectors. We were able to use it by having the engineer of record approve it as an alternative solution.
Yeah, and this meant a geotechnical engineer was required to be on site before, during, and after installation of the product. So we had a bit of legwork there just to A, find an engineer who was willing to work with this product and us, and B, trying to find one local to this more remote project just for ease of the frequent site visits that were needed.
And the third major pre-planning item was how to isolate and protect the control layers of the envelope. So the structural framing doubles as a service cavity. On the exterior of that's the air and vapor barrier. Beyond that is framing and dense packed cellulose insulation. Beyond that, the weather barrier, then strapping, ventilation, cladding. The roof is similar. Communicating the sequencing and interplay of each of these components was very important.
Okay, so now we're at the stage ready to begin the build, and there's just a few key things that we like to implement to set the tone for the project. The reality is this is a different type of building, and I'm sure most of you in this room didn't learn this specific type of building in trade school or university, wherever you learned your building foundation methods. So I just think it's really important to take a few extra steps ahead of beginning the project to make sure everyone is familiar and informed on the unique parameters. So that could be an orientation or several orientations with your site team ahead of starting the build. Rockside had a great bulletin prepared, which we included with any document that we sent off to anybody involved in the project. Posted it in several areas on site, so it was just very clear and consistent to reference. We assigned an air tightness supervisor who's in the room here with us. And lastly, just making sure you have your contacts, resources, and product information links readily available. Ensuring that your site team knows everybody's available for questions and available to contact at any time, be it Andrew, Rockside, myself, or even supplier-related questions. Just taking these small extra steps ahead of time helps the site team to simply just focus on the execution.
Yeah, and I really liked Ashley had called that little blue document a sticker because it just stuck in everybody's head.
Very true.
Right there.
Okay, So now we've begun the build, and as you can see here, we have our sub-base prepped and ready for the arrival of our foam glass. Again, this is quite different than how typical aggregates arrive to site. So we put a lot of time and thought into how to get it here. We explored some different options like walking floor trailers, dump trucks, just like we do with typical aggregates. But ultimately, what we landed on as the most effective and approachable method was enclosed trailers. So that meant the material was loaded into these 3 cubic yard bags, each on individual pallets. And when they arrived to our site, had to be unloaded by our telehandler, stockpiled, ready for us to use. And when we were ready for placement, we suspended them with the telehandler over top of our slab area. And you see Jim here pulling the cord on the bottom, and there was a chute that let the material spill out. So a bit of a different process in terms of handling the material and getting it to site. But once we adapted to the new process, it was, from my understanding, fairly easy to work with, and the process went pretty smooth. And as I mentioned before, so during the entire installation of the foam glass, we had to have an engineer on site. And the reason for that is the foam glass is assessed for compaction strictly by measuring the sequential lifts. So each lift was measured before and after compaction.
To determine the appropriate density.
Yes,
Yep.
correct.
And the Tiny Township building inspectors became the first converts, I think, for using this product. During construction, I received a cold call from an unknown contractor looking to buy some, and the building inspector had been passing our number around. I didn't have any to sell, though.
So once our foam glass bed is all prepped, it's tucked into its cozy geotextile blanket, and then we're on to installing the Stego-Home membrane and sealing any through slab penetrations. And so now we're on to everybody's favorite, framing. And with this project, the wall assembly and roof assembly details, we are actually framing the building twice. So this is the first phase of framing, which is our interior walls and the structural framing of the project.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, just the sequencing of the framing with the membranes is very important. You can see some of the roof trusses already installed, and there's a strip of Intello all along underneath them, and it was protected by a plywood cap during construction, and that's there to connect later. And then, we were just going over a detail there one day, and the second layer of framing that's to come is required to hold all the insulation, but then it's also handy for fastening, cladding, awnings, anything back through a very thick layer of insulation.
Yeah. So now we're on to the second phase of framing, and as you see here, we're working on our outrigger wall assembly and then our 2x6 roof ventilation layer.
And once that roof is was complete, there's 3 layers of protection built into it. There's the roofing itself, the underlayment, and then the mantle that you see here. And we actually created drainage planes within that by inserting wood battens underneath this horizontal strapping.
We're all familiar with the challenges of building in Ontario and the lovely weather we have here. So as much as we plan to have our projects, wrapped up and closed in before winter, sometimes Mother Nature deals us unexpected snow days far too early. So our crew on site had the fun challenge some mornings of digging the snow out of the cavities by hand. In hindsight, next time, I think if weather's a consideration, we would definitely explore the temporary construction shelters to fully enclose the building. I think it would be a nice touch.
And to aid the crew in
This good?
Yeah. So to aid the crew in achieving their performance targets, we found it helpful to outline a step-by-step process of how to install the windows and doors and all the membranes.
Yep, and what we also found very helpful just before we got into all the air and vapor barrier installations was having a site meeting with Andrew, myself, Aaron from 475, and our site team, just to go over all the products we were going to be using. We were familiar with these from other projects, but I think it was just really helpful for everyone to go through the details specific to this project.
Right, and yeah, the exterior framing and insulation layer, there's a full layer of continuous insulation behind these vertical 2x10s, and trying to cordon that off and encapsulate the insulation took a bit of brainstorming.
Yeah, and what we landed on was using a combination of pegboard and mesh to separate our cavities, and this allowed the insulators, the air expelled from the insulator's nozzle to escape the cavity. And I just want to point out how important it is to have an insulator part of your project who really understands the systems but is also willing to accommodate custom sequencing. For example, we had our insulator come to site several times during framing and preparation just to go over how we were prepping the cavities and what we could do on our end to make their install more effective. Okay, rough-ins and trades. So I feel like I'm maybe repeating myself here, but I just want to stress the importance of clearly communicating the details, having a site meeting with everybody involved to go over penetration locations, because then this ultimately allows you to, use the preformed gaskets here.
Which it was nice to see, just with a little bit of extra sealant around that wire too. Good job. So we have a very minimal HVAC system. There's a few through-wall HRVs, which are that little rectangle there, ductless mini split, forced air 2 heat pumps, radiant and floor heat. We learned that because our performance targets were so high, we could actually do the radiant heat without fossil fuel combustion, which was really nice.
Yep, and quick note on HVAC here, how many builders or building designers have ever had a HVAC contractor ask them for a bigger mechanical room? So always fun to prove them otherwise. So in this project, we were able to have a very organized, spacious mechanical room with only 6 feet, I think a 6 foot by 7 foot space. Just goes to show the
nice and compact.
Efficiency.
And
to get to the grand reveal of the project, this is our blower door testing, and we conducted this prior to interior finishing. And I just want to mention how we had everybody involved in this test. These guys were on site right from foam glass placement to the finishing details, so I think it was really rewarding for everybody to be involved in this process and understand how all of their meticulous detailing paid off.
yeah, and we had kind of demanded a minimum 0.6. This crew doing this kind of for the first time knocked it out at 0.23. So, congrats.
Job well done on their part.
And we had moved the requirement for shear sheathing is also the interior finish, and that allowed us quick access to the service cavity, which proved beneficial already.
I'll very quickly touch on the fact that we did have a recent issue with the mini split AC system, and it was determined to be a line set issue back in the wall, and just in one trip we were able to easily remove the plywood panel, make the repair, put the plywood panel back on. And so that just goes to show you how this planning leads to really easy maintenance friendly for a busy farm.
And so built better together. Collaboration is extremely important, and communication, not just the design and the materials. And next slide.
Shortly after this project was completed, we were granted with the big ice storm of 2025, so it really put this project to the test, and the building performed just as intended. Our clients were able to use the building with no power, no generator for over 4 days.
Yeah, and yep. And a quick tie back to the whole premise of the farm, our clients recently requested a hard copy set of the drawings just to keep on site so any future owners could understand the importance of how the building's constructed and what we achieved together.
Yeah, and just a super quick note before we wrap up, because I think this is important to mention. I think we can just all walk away from this project knowing we contributed to something really meaningful, not only in the built form itself, but in the greater purpose this project represents. So, and I hope that our talk helped shed light on the importance of collaboration.
Thank you.
Thank you.